up, friends? And welcome back to
the Nerd Guys Podcast.
As you can see, today we're having a very spooky episode. And it's because Halloween is coming up soon. You guys doing anything special for Halloween? Have any Halloween parties? Going out trick-or-treating? Let us know in the comments how you're going to spend Halloween. Today is also the season finale of Nerd Guys Podcast. So season 1 is it's done today.
Yep.
How do you feel about the ending of season 1?
It's cool.
14, well, if you want to get technical, 15 episodes of Nerd Guys Podcast. I've enjoyed being able to hang out here with you guys and do the cool stuff here with you guys. So as today is our spooky episode, that's right. There we go. We are gonna... Today's episode is gonna be a little different because we got some spooky can't talk. Spooky stories that we can share. That'll be fun. And then we'll get into our regular topics like usual. And then we'll probably round out the end with just some highlights of season 1 and then be done. So let us go. And I'll start with my spooky story if you guys don't mind. This is called the Enfield Monster. So, in 1973, a man in Enfield, Illinois, told reporters that he saw a weird little creature lurking in his yard. Per the Mount Vernon Register News, resident Henry McDaniel stated, it had 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little arms, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights. The police later found scratches on the door's screen and footprints that look like dogs with 6 toes. If they do find it, McDaniel said in the newspaper, they will find more than one, and they won't be from this planet. I can tell you that. To this day, no explanation has been ever found.
I've actually heard that story. I've actually heard of it before. I told you I listened to a lot of stuff about weird happenings and whatnot. I either heard about it on one or 2 podcasts that I listened to, either the Weird Darkness podcast or the Theories of the Third Kind podcast. Shout out to both of those podcasts. They're actually really good. This is not sponsored. I know we say that often, but Darren Marlar puts on a heck of a show in the Weird Darkness podcast, and Aaron and Danielson put on a heck of a podcast in the Theories of the Third Kind podcast. Like, they're fun because they're like cool stories of weird happenings that people report. also like weird conspiracy theories, and I know what everybody's probably saying right now. Oh, he listens to conspiracy theory podcasts. They're fun. They're fun to listen to. It doesn't mean that you have to believe them. I'm pretty sure a lot of the stuff that the hosts of the show talk about, they don't even actually believe it. They it's just interesting, something different to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what matters. That's what matters. I don't really look into a lot of this stuff very often, so to me this was very interesting. Like it's not like this is the first time I've heard anything like this, because of, you know, I've heard a lot of weird stories and stuff like that. Plus I've had a lot of like friends who are conspiracy theorists, so like this kind of thing comes up. But this was very interesting when I looked at it, and I was like, I like it. I'll take this, and I'll make it for one of my first stories that I looked into. It's very interesting. Alright, your turn.
What rule? Alright. Let's see, which one do I want to read about? Foist. Alright. So, I'll tell you all about a haunted hotel. Again, I purposely looked this one up because I was like, oh man, I have heard so much about this hotel that it just got uber cool to look into it more. I'll read it verbatim. This is coming from discovery.com. I'm going to read it verbatim, the article. So, get ready. 'Tis the season for scary stories. So we've rounded up a few tales of serial killers, tragic endings, untreated mental illness, and infanticide. Oh, did we mention that they all happened at the exact same place? Welcome to LA's Cecil Hotel. Here's a little bit of the history of Cecil Hotel. You don't have to get into supernatural whatsoever to be completely freaked out by the story of the Cecil Hotel. In 1924, hotelier William Banks Hanner poured $1 million, about $13 million in today's money, into building a hotel in Los Angeles with an opulent marble lobby, stained glass windows, and alabaster statues. His budding hospitality business seemed like a sure thing. Unfortunately, the Great Depression was right around the corner. In the decades that followed, the hotel and its surrounding area slowly declined. Today, the neighborhood's name has become synonymous with a down-on-its-luck place, or Skid Row. By 1931, the hotel had seen its first suicide. W.K. Norton, whose body was discovered beside a pile of poison capsules. More suicides followed. But in 1937, 25-year-old Grace E. Magro became the fourth person to die at the hotel when she fell from the 9th story. Her body tangled in telephone wires. Police were unable to determine whether it was suicide, an accident, or something more insidious. One of the more heartbreaking incidents came in 1944 when a young woman gave birth in a room and threw her newborn out the window in a panic. That's crazy. But the Cecil's first foray into crime history came in 1947 when Elizabeth Short, also known as the Black Dahlia, where are all my Black Dahlia fans at, was allegedly spotted having a drink at the hotel days before her murder. So, for those of you who don't know, the Black Dahlia, brief overview, was allegedly Elizabeth Short. Second, she was a woman who was found in a field. And again, if you all know more, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. It's okay, just be respectful about it. But she was found in a field, I believe, with her tongue cut out and her body cut in half at the waist, separating her legs from her torso. It was very gruesome. The Cecil Hotel, I'll keep this part brief. The Cecil Hotel had a couple of famous, or I guess infamous, serial killers that stayed in it at the time. Richard Ramirez, who is also known as the Night Stalker. Forget who else. Let's see. I should have looked into it more. Thank you, laptop. I'll just read it. So, skipping forward to 1947 to 1984, Richard Ramirez, better known as the Night Stalker, was the terror of coastal California from April 1984 to August 1985. In less than a year and a half, he murdered no fewer than 38 people, ages 9 to 83, in a killing spree that spread all the way from Orange County to San Francisco. When he was operating in Los Angeles, his base of operations was the Cecil Hotel. He even disposed of evidence, including bloody clothes, in the hotel's dumpster. Bruh. Yeah, like this hotel just attracted the wrong types of people. The Night Stalker has pretty high name recognition, and his crimes were particularly heinous. But the story of Jack Untenwerger has another particularly creepy wrinkle. An Australian serial killer, he committed his first murder in his home country in 1974 and was convicted and sentenced for his crime. About 10 years later, he released a memoir entitled Purgatory, or The Trip to Jail, Report of a Guilty Man, which became a bestseller, and he helped convince officials he was reformed. He hadn't.
Wow.
It wasn't just the cops that he fooled. His story was soon told as an example of the prison system's success, and eventually he even began working as a journalist and public broadcasting host on the true crime beat. His specialty? The heinous murders of sex workers, just like the crime that had led to his conviction. Ironic. In 1991, he checked into the Cecil Hotel to cover a story about street crime in LA. While he was in the city, 3 sex workers were attacked and killed in a way that mirrored his previous crimes. And the police were able to definitively tie the journalist to the murders. That's weird. I know in this article they go into like a couple of serial killers, but there were reportedly or allegedly a lot more serial killers that stayed in this hotel. I remember hearing from one of my podcasts that I listened to, one of the many ones that I've listened to about this hotel. There are, if I remember correctly, sightings of a woman who allegedly committed suicide. She was supposed to be married or getting married or something like that. She was in a wedding dress. And when people see her ghost, they literally see it jump from the window and it just falls straight to the ground. And it freaks people out. But allegedly, as it hits the ground, it disappears. And also, there's a room in the hotel, if I'm not mistaken, or a floor. I forget which floor. But you can allegedly hear the ghost of... hear and or see the ghost of like a specific serial killer that lived there. I don't remember who it was. Wow. This is freaking me out. I wish I would have taken more time to prep. See, true crime and horror crap like this, I love getting into stuff like this because it's always cool.
Yeah, that's such strange, how these things work, right?
And it's weird because I don't like horror, but when it comes to real life, quote unquote horror, I'm all for it, even though I know I'm not really gonna like it.
Yeah. There's something very interesting about that, and the fact that it's a place like a hotel that's had stuff like this happen. But I just thought about it, are there many movies where they're hotels that are featured as the place of where everybody gets killed?
I'm pretty sure there are a lot of them.
Because, the most that I know of are, there's, cabins or, a family member's house or something like that.
I'm pretty sure that...
I mean, I don't doubt it, but it just, to me, what comes to mind is, the movies that have, someone's house or a haunted house or an old house or something like that, or old mansion. But that's crazy. So many that man that made that wanted this hotel, I can't even imagine being responsible for this hotel and trying to have this nice hotel, and then it ended up being known for serial killers and suicides, and that's crazy.
There's something even crazier. This article from The Insider says that in 2013, there was a Canadian student named Eliza Lamb whose body was found in the water tank on the Cecil Hotel's roof. This hotel has a very complicated backstory or very complicated history.
That's wild.
I'm sorry, I love stuff like this. It's always sad to hear these stories, like that these things happen.
Yeah.
But to me, it's always interesting as well to hear that, like, how this stuff happens.
Yeah. Well, mine is also about a hotel. This one is called the Suicide Hotel. In Colombia, the Hotel del Santo has more stories as one of the most haunted places on Earth, more than it does actual tenants. It turned into a museum. The hotel was designed by architect Carlos Arturo Tapias back in 1923, overlooking the Tenquendama Falls. The views were said to be spectacular, but guests kept getting a little too close to the falls. Translated to Hotel of the Leap, the Hotel del Salto is full of stories of people leaping to their deaths. According to legend, the indigenous Musica tribe escaped from Spanish colonizers by leaping off the cliffs some centuries before.
Damn. That's crazy. It's funny, like when you said that, I thought you were gonna choose. I'll get into it when I read my next story, but that's deep. Like, I don't know, I just think it's weird when stuff like this happens because, like, as a scientist, I'm like, I believe there is a logical explanation why all this stuff happens. Mm-hmm. But then there's a point where I'm like, okay, there has to be some logical reason, but we don't know what that logical reason is. And the way, like, that's my way of saying, like, there are probably forces beyond what we can visibly see.
Right.
And I always think crap like that is super interesting.
When I was reading this, like, I was like, you know, this is not the first time I've heard something like this. And, like, I think I watched, like, not Dateline. What was there's a show on television where they talked about, like, these types of stories. And, like, something similar to this happened. And the reporter kind of said, like, it's almost like history repeated itself. And that's such a weird thing. But, like, in reality, like, if you're someone, like, if you don't believe in spirits, it's fine, you know. Not everybody believes in it. But, like, I am someone who says that, like, there are some, like, influences, at least, to, like, things that happen. Because, like, you know, I'm not someone who's always looking out for the answer. Because, like, sometimes you just don't want to know.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Sometimes ignorance is most definitely bliss.
But what fascinates me about it is, like how this was called the Hotel of the Leap. And, you know, years ago, you know, and the indigenous tribe jumped off these same falls to escape. Like, how do you do that? How does these...
And there are people out here that say spirits aren't real. Again, not knocking you if you don't believe it, but there's a certain point where you have to be like, at least stop to entertain the possibility that there may be something.
There may be more to this than meets the eye.
Exactly.
It's just not a, oh, well, you know. Because, like, people just, you know, leaping to their deaths? Come on now. There's no reasonable explanation for that.
So, mini story. I thought you were going to go for this one. That's why I didn't initially choose it. Alright. This comes from mentalfloss.com. This is an article on Mental Floss. Again, none of these are sponsored. These are just articles that we found. And this one is a really popular story that most people know of. And you're going to know about it. I know you're going to know about it only because of a certain wrestler that you like.
Okay.
Northwest of the majestic Mount Fuji is Akigahara, 13.5. Please forgive me if I butchered that. A 13.5 square mile forest, so thick with foliage that is known as the Sea of Trees.
Oh.
Many visitors have chosen this place as the setting for their final moments, walking in with no intention of ever walking back out. So much that this area has the second highest rate of suicide in the world after the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. It's actually scarier to know that the Golden Gate Bridge has the highest suicide rate.
That is very
that's
scary.
a little bit
That's
creepier.
concerning.
Yeah.
Very concerning.
But it makes sense. Whew. So, in years past, Akigahara was also believed to contain Yurai, or a mythological Japanese ghost filled with anger and vengefulness. Its grim history made the woods a fitting location for the 2016 horror film The Forest. If y'all didn't know what forest we were talking about, the colloquial name for the forest is literally Suicide Forest.
Yeah.
This is literally a place where they say if you go in, most people that go in never return, only because when they go in, something kind of makes them feel that depressed, and that depression turns into a need to want to end oneself, and a lot of people wind up ending themselves in that forest. So there are some stats. Take this with a grain of salt. Apparently the suicide rates vary, in part because the forest is so lush that some bodies can go undiscovered for years or might be lost forever. Some estimates claim between 30 to 100 people per year take their lives there. However, there are other sources that report that statistics for recent years are unavailable, in part because the Japanese government has stopped releasing numbers in order to prevent future deaths by suicide. I don't know, and the reason why I said you would know about this, because this is the forest that, who is it, Logan Paul or Jake Paul, one of the Paul brothers, literally visited.
Oh, no, I knew this because of anime.
I mean, I figured you would know about it because
Yeah.
it's actually super popular, and it's one of those no-go zones.
So I've heard about it before I watched the anime I heard it in, but I did not know about the Logan or the Paul brother. One, because I only know Logan Paul from wrestling. I'm not familiar with his YouTube work.
It wasn't Jake Paul, it was Logan Paul.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with what he does on YouTube, so I did not know anything about him visiting this forest.
Yes. So, apparently he, some time ago, live streamed. And in live streaming, he visited the suicide forest in Japan and found a dead body.
Oh.
And he basically, I'm sorry, not found a dead body. Found someone,
Who committed suicide?
yeah. I'm sorry, we're sitting here watching.
No.
Yeah.
No. That made me very glad that I only know him from wrestling.
So, this is one of the things that, people didn't really vibe with.
I mean, listen, there are some things you just don't do.
Yeah.
Like, regardless. And I feel like this is one of those things. Is like, you know what? Nah.
Exactly. That's kind of what makes it worse, because he did it and, like, the court of public opinion had a field day.
I bet.
Because they were like, yeah, we do not accept that you did that. That was pretty low.
Like, there's always going to be someone who's curious, right?
Yeah.
100%. And we live in the media age where people are definitely like, oh, well, this is for clicks. If it didn't happen in a live stream, it didn't happen. I hate that, by the way. It's basically your whole family moment. But, like, one of these situations where, like, there's a forest dedicated to, like, not dedicated, but, like, featured at or called the forest of death or the suicide forest. That's not somewhere I'm going to, go, hey, let's go film a video there. No. Because, like, I don't know. One, I feel like it's kind of disrespectful to the people who died there.
Yep. Especially those who got that depressed.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, I guess, like, there's this, rule, and not rule, but kind of unspoken rule in like streaming or recording. Something like that's very sensitive, you probably shouldn't record.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, if I'm second guessing it, maybe I shouldn't do it.
Yeah, like, it'd be like if your friend was having trouble, mentally, and you decided to record them going through their mental trial.
Yep. Or going through, like, a breakdown.
Oh, yeah, exactly. How would you think that would make them feel?
Yep.
So, like, take that, but, like, apply it to people who have passed on, and have chosen to end their own lives.
Yes, and got another story if you're willing to listen to it. Are you? I'll ask, because, like, if you're not willing, if you don't wanna, it's all good. We can skip to the other topics that we have, but I think this other story is interesting because I actually didn't know anything about it.
Okay, fine. Let's go.
All right. This one is about a place known as Myrtle's. I almost said Myrtle's Transportation. Myrtle's Plantation. So, I'm pretty sure you can figure out what this one has to do with.
Yeah, I have a feeling where this is going.
So, I will read this word for word. This one's from latech.edu. So, the plantation that is today known as Myrtle's was once known by a different name. Some people may have heard it called Whiskey Dave, but the original name of the plantation was Laurel Grove. Okay. This antebellum plantation is located in St. Francisville, Louisiana. St. Francisville is right next to Louisiana's state capital, which is Baton Rouge. The plantation was built in 1796 by a general named David Bradford. Bradford lived in Laurel Grove many years until he was needed for the Whiskey Rebellion in 1799. During this rebellion, President George Washington put out an order for the execution of Bradford. Bradford, trying to hide from Washington, moved to a plantation in Pennsylvania. Interesting, because I always thought there were no plantations in Pennsylvania because it was a Quaker state.
Yeah.
Once Bradford died, his daughter's husband managed the plantation. He moved to Covington, Louisiana. Shout out American Horror Story Covington, because I'm pretty sure that's where that takes place. Where my American Horror Story fans at? And left an old caretaker to maintain the plantation. Later, the original owner's daughter, her husband decided to sell the plantation and the slaves to a man named Ruffin Gray Sterling. Probably a little late, but you know, do you want to put like a listener warning on this part? Or on this episode in general? It might be a little late for that. I mean, we're just speaking facts.
I was gonna say, I think it's a little too late for that.
Yeah, like this is...
You said plantain. It was over before it started.
Yeah, it was over before I said plantation. Like, I'm sorry, if you all don't understand, or if you're like young listening to this, yes, slavery in the United States was a thing. Slavery in the world was a thing. African American people, or black people, whatever the PC term for you is, were enslaved in the United States.
No, and not only just them.
Oh yeah, exactly. Not only just them. There were indigenous people that were attempted to be enslaved, as well as others that migrated to the U.S. that were also enslaved.
Yes.
It just so happens that African Americans were the longest enslaved in the United States.
Yeah.
If you didn't know that, now you know. Sterling and his wife did a major remodeling to the plantation. Once the remodeling was done, the house had been doubled in size and the name was changed from Laurel Grove to Myrtle's. This plantation was passed down within the family, and at one point, they were forced to sell it. Later on, later on, this person had typos in what they wrote. I'm sorry, when I noticed typos, it kind of like...
No,
it's like skeeving me out. Yeah.
I also noticed that. I was like, wait, what? Okay.
Later on, the same family was able to buy it back. So, the Gray family, or the Sterling family, was able to purchase the plantation back.
Okay.
In 1871, Winter, the owner at the time, was shot and killed by a man on the porch of the plantation. My God, this place has a bunch of bad history with it. His wife stayed at Myrtle's, and the plantation ownership stayed within the family. The debt became too large and was sold to a new family, and then kept being passed from family to family until 1891. This is when Harrison Milton Williams bought the plantation. A family member of the Williams had been noticing odd things happening around Myrtle's, but nothing was done. Later, the plantation was sold and restored by the Ward family, and then handed to a new family. And this time, Myrtle's was purchased by the Wards. The Ward family restored and sold to the Myers. A family member of the Myers published a book about haunted homes, which was featuring Myrtle's. Some people have said that the plantation is haunted because of the original owner, David Bradford, built the plantation over, pardon, I apologize if I butcher this, Tunica indigenous burial grounds. This was written probably some time ago. They said Indian, but we'll say indigenous.
Oh boy.
So
wow.
Apparently they suspect that David Bradford built the plantation over Tunica indigenous burial grounds, which cursed the entire house. Myrtle supposedly had 12 ghosts and had 10 murders that occurred. The actual records only show that one person was murdered in the house, which was William Winter. The plantation is today known for a full-service restaurant and a bed and breakfast. Big shocker, this is normally what they do at places like this that are quote-unquote haunted. And they usually puff up the story to make it, more profitable. Like, oh my God, this place is so haunted. Ah.
Yeah.
It's
a very tourist-heavy attraction.
Exactly. The restaurant is called the Carriage House Restaurant, which is located on a 5,000 square foot old brickyard. The house also offers tours to allow the visitors to experience one of America's most haunted homes. Myrtle's has been featured in New York Times, Oprah Show, The History Channel, Good Morning America, Haunting of Louisiana, and many more nation-known medias. I might as well finish it out. In the plantation, a visitor can find antiques, architectural treasures of the South, hand-painted stained glass, and maybe even encounter a ghost. The giant rocking chairs and the 10 acres of surrounding woods are also well known at the plantation.
Yeah, it's a big bunch of nope for me.
Louisiana itself is a big bunch of note for me. I literally just explained to my coworker the other day what a sundown town is.
Oh.
Because she wasn't aware of what a sundown town was. She's I don't know if she's Jewish, but I know she's white.
Yes.
Or, I'm sorry, if you want to be PC, Caucasian.
Okay.
Anyway, when I said sundown town, she literally looked at me and asked me, she was like, what's that? I've never heard that term before. She was being sincere. And I was like, huh? Because we were talking about West Virginia.
Yeah.
And I was basically saying I could never move there. My one coworker knew exactly what I was talking about. One of my other coworkers knew what I was talking about. But she was like, what do you mean by that? Like, why couldn't you move there? I'm like, oh, because there are things that are called sundown towns. And for those of you who don't know what a sundown town is, it is, from my knowledge, a town where people of color cannot be there after the sun goes down. It is very dangerous for them to be there after the sun goes down because there are weird things that could happen.
Yeah.
So, like, if an accident happened and you just so happen to be involved, it would be a strange occurrence.
Yeah.
So it is in your best interest
to stay away.
To stay away. And again, if this ruffles any feathers, I apologize. It's just the reality of the world we live in.
Like, we're not saying that these Louisiana or any of these places are bad places.
Oh yeah, no.
Beautiful places. But, you know, a lot of strange occurrences happen in these beautiful places.
Yes, and a lot of people have ideologies that prevent them from progressing in society.
Yeah.
And they just so happen to look at specific people as if they are beneath them, instead of everyone being equal.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a lot of reading between the lines there, but
we're on Twitch and
yeah,
it's better for all of us. Let's just put it that way.
We're on Twitch and we're on YouTube, so
this might be a little bit heavy for everyone, I know, and
but it is a spooky episode, and this is a scary it is a scary topic. So like, do your own research. Like, don't just go off of what I say or what Jamie says.
Yeah, like what was it that Reading Rainbow used to say? Read it for yourself, something like that.
Yeah.
Go read it. Basically, go read it for yourself. Go look into these things if this is like something that you're interested in or something that like piqued your brain or something that you know are very curious about. And if you're not curious, that's okay.
Yes, don't
worry about it.
Don't go peeking into things that make you feel super uncomfortable.
If you're someone who is kind of queasy when it comes to this, it's okay. I understand. I'm interested in this only because like this type of stuff I like hearing sometimes. Like, it's horrifying and it's terrible, like some of these things that have happened, but it is like, it's interesting, like, again, like with the hotel story, like, you can't tell me that, there was no connection between it being, the plantation being built on the burial grounds had nothing to do with that.
Allegedly built on burial grounds.
But still, like,
yeah, exactly, just like you, my hands are up. Like, again, I am a scientist. I believe in fact over fiction, and logic and reason over assumption. But again, sometimes
you gotta, you just gotta take it for what it is and go, you know what?
At a certain, like, we didn't know the earth was round. Some people still don't believe the earth is round. Not knocking you, but, sometimes you don't know.
Sometimes you gotta put up your hands and just go, you know what?
To quote, it was either, was it Samuel L. Jackson or was it Charlie Murphy's character from the Boondocks? There are two things. You got your unknown unknowns and your unknown knowns.
Oh, I think that's Charlie Murphy.
Your unknown unknowns are things that you don't know that you don't know.
Yeah.
But they don't become unknown knowns until you ask the question and realize there's something that you don't know. But now you know that you don't know the thing that you didn't know before you knew that you didn't know it.
Yeah. And sometimes, if you don't want to know,
don't ask the question.
Don't ask the question. Just live in bliss and be happy.
Yep.
And trust me, I'm right there with you. Listen, it's okay.
The phrase "ignorance is bliss." Ignorance is 100% bliss. Trust me, there is something. I am a very curious person, but my grandmother used to always say, "Curiosity killed the cat."
Yep.
On the other hand, she used to always follow it up with, "And satisfaction brought it back." But better to not have curiosity kill the cat in the first place.
I'll put it to you this way, and this is kind of a personal story. So when I was younger, I was the bigger cousin of like me and my brother and my cousins, and I went over to my cousin's house, like my older cousin, and I would watch her kids. She bought a Ouija board.
Oh, funny story about those, but go ahead.
Now, whether you believe it or not, you know, what was said about Ouija boards is that they are connected to spirits. My mom flipped when she found out. Because she was like, why? And the night that, like, we slept over, my brother had terrible nightmares.
Oh, wow.
Like, he was crying, screaming, like, and my mom, like, you know, my cousin called my mom. My mom was like, put the Bible under his pillow. And after that, he was fine. But I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good.
So, funny story about Ouija boards. They weren't inherently created for what people
use them as. Or use them for.
Technically.
Right.
So, it was a fun game, if I remember correctly. It was a fun game that let you talk to people on the other side.
Okay.
But what happened is, when the movie The Exorcist came out, it started the whole satanic panic in the U.S. So people started looking at it like it was evil and demonic, and the church started like a crazy raid against it.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, you know, it went from a fun children's game, because it was originally made for children. It went from a fun children's game to something that was evil and demonic and kids shouldn't play with.
Yeah.
So, it's up for debate. Like,
I mean, my story isn't to, like, you know, say that, you know,
yeah,
Ouija boards are evil, but, you know, I'll put it to you this way. If you are very sensitive about certain things, maybe stay away.
Yes.
Because I was, you know, I've been told by many people, like, you know, Dreamcatchers. They don't just take away nightmares, they take your dreams. Some people have said that they stopped dreaming while they had a dream catcher.
Well, I don't remember most of my dreams anyway, so...
I mean, in some ways, like, that could be good for some people, you know?
Well, a lot of people actually don't remember their dreams. Like, apparently you dream every night, or every time you go to sleep you dream.
So, I've been listening to the podcast that I listen to, which is the Disc Only podcast. And the 8-bit drummer, shout out to the 8-bit drummer, he's someone who lucid dreams. So he, if you know about lucid dreaming, he writes down what he dreams. And like recently, one of the other hosts, Proton John, has been having dreams, and he's been remembering them, so he's been writing them down. And he had a dream where basically it was kind of like a female version of him, and but he never met her. He didn't know her name, but like she knew all about him, and she would basically say like, hey, you didn't show up today, blah 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 blah, like they were in school or it was basically they were in a setting and like they saw each other every day, but he didn't know her in the dream. And like people in the audience and chat had been saying like, there might be something more to that. And like he has a therapist, so he went to his therapist, and his therapist said like, there might be something that you might be expecting, like not like a child or anything, but just something happening, and it's like, it's crazy. But,
yep. Yeah. Depending on whatever you believe, like I've had dreams like that myself, where they start off as me not recognizing it's a dream, but then eventually I recognize it's a dream, and then I start dreaming lucid. Yeah. One such example was in a dream. I dreamt that myself and Nix were married, and I met my daughter.
Oh.
And I called her by name, but I don't know what that name is.
Okay. Yeah.
And she ran up to me, really excited. Gave me a hug. And, motioned for me to pick her up. So I picked her up, and I knew who she was. I recognized her.
Yeah.
And it was almost like I was, in the future. Or some sort of alternate reality.
Yeah.
Long story short, I was only asleep for a bit. Like, basically, the usual 8 hours. Yeah. But the time that I had spent with her was more than 8 hours.
Yeah.
I spent days with her. And when I woke up, I kind of broke down in tears, because I was like, what was that? Like, either A, that really happened, B, we really don't know as much about the brain as we think we do.
Yeah.
Or C, the multiverse is real.
I mean...
Or D, I time traveled.
Listen, I'm here for all of those options, to be honest. Because, like, I am someone who has a lot of, like... I remember a lot of my dreams, because sometimes my dreams are very specific. And I've dreamt of, going places, and... Like, I actually, I never told you about this, but I had a dream where me, you, and Nix went to Japan, and we were there for days, and we just did a bunch of stuff, and I can't really, remember the specifics. Like, I remember we ate at a restaurant, I remember we did some arcading, we went shopping and stuff like that. But what was most notable is, like, we didn't fly there. Like, we didn't get on a plane and, like, fly there. Like,
you just kind of appear there.
Yeah. Like, it's almost like we walked there, but we didn't walk.
And that's the funny thing, like, I was reading a book about consciousness. And your brain, like, between me reading the book about consciousness and me taking a neurobiology course back in college, your brain does some amazing things. That I'll say that. You ever heard, like, the old rumor that you only use like 2% of your brain or something?
Yeah.
That's a lie.
10%.
10%.
Yeah.
It's a lie. Use 100% of your brain all the time.
Right.
But scientists still don't 100% understand how consciousness works. And there's still a lot about the brain we don't know. Not just human brains, the brain in general.
Yeah.
We don't know. Because it's able to paint vivid pictures that make you think that you've experienced something that you haven't experienced. You know, like, look at people that are schizophrenic. They hear things when there is nothing around. They may see things that aren't really there.
Yeah.
And your brain is a powerful enough organ that lets you experience these things. And when you go to sleep, I forget where I heard it, but when you go to sleep, what dreams are compilations of everything that you've seen in your lifetime, either noticed or unnoticed, rearranged to paint a picture, like build a picture. That was the scientific definition that I've heard at one point. Some people believe otherwise. Like, if you look at the Bible and the story of I forget what his name is. The one that they made the movie about, DreamWorks did the movie about.
Jonah?
No, that was Big Fish.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember what the name is. Joseph?
Is it Joseph? It might be Joseph. Or is it Job?
Joseph.
Joseph?
No, Job was the one who had the wife, and
yeah.
his wife deserted him, and basically he had the But Joseph, like the story of Joseph, where he literally was able to interpret dreams, and he had dreams and interpreted his dreams. And I'm paraphrasing, by the way. Forgive me if I butcher the story, but anybody out there that knows the story verbatim, drop it down below. Or if you're, if you have a Bible, just look up the story, read it, or look up the story online. People read it. Or watch the movie. And if you're not spiritual or not religious or whatever,
that's fine.
It's still a fun story to listen to. But this character literally had dreams. He thought he was going crazy at first, but then what happened was the dream started coming to pass.
Yeah.
When he told people about it, they looked at him like he was crazy. Long story short, the dreams came true. I found myself in similar situations at time, but again, is it coincidence? Maybe. Can we say?
No.
No.
Not at all.
But,
basically, it's there, and I'm sure a lot of you have had that experience. So
it's like deja vu.
Yeah.
Like experiencing a point in time that you feel like you've experienced before.
I've heard of many people saying that they've had dreams where they've, lived a different life, but then ended up living a life similar to the life that they had in the dream.
Yep.
Which, people kind of like equate to destiny and stuff like similar to that. And that's always fascinating to me.
So, what's the creepiest thing that's ever happened to you?
Well, my Ouija board story.
Okay. That's fair. Mine is something Interesting. I'm going to be perfectly 100% candid. Well, 95% candid. My school that I graduated from, I was told what it was before it was a school. Back when I was in high school, the building that my school was located in was a mortuary. And I had always been told that story. I attended that school from 5th grade to 12th grade, like 5th to 12th. And I had always heard stories about it. My one teacher said he never experienced anything like that. But it's because he didn't believe in that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving a lot of detail out just for the sake of...
Yeah, this is for our listeners.
Yeah. But one day, I used to run through the school, after everyone had left. And by run through the school, I mean, like, school would be over, the teachers would be there, the students, would be gone. My grandmother was a teacher, so I kind of had to stay behind until she was ready to leave.
Yeah.
One day, I went to one of the bathrooms, or to the bathroom on the second floor. I was using it. I believe I told you the story before.
Yeah, you did tell me the story.
Creepiest thing happened. I'm in the bathroom. The bathroom has a slide lock on it. It's a single bathroom. The door starts rattling as I'm washing my hands. And I'm like, that's weird. And I'm like, I yell out, someone's in here. I go back to washing my hands. The door rattles more. And I'm like, okay, ha ha ha, funny. I look out the window. The window has an entire view of the schoolyard. I'm like, I don't see anybody outside. And I know I'm the only person up here. So, I walk over to the door. I listen. There's no one giggling outside. I don't hear anyone breathing on the other side of the door. And I didn't hear anybody run down the stairs, which are just outside of the door. And no one ran in any of the directions. Like, you could hear this because there were a bunch of squeaky boards. I look at the lock. And I stand there for a second. As I stare at the lock, it goes from the down position up. And then the door starts rattling again. I immediately slid the lock open, went out the bathroom, and hauled ass down those stairs. Because I was like...
Nope.
Nope. Yep, I was on my Jordan Peele. Nope. I ain't questioning it. Nope. And it's funny because my grandmother used to tell me a story about something that she experienced while she was there. Her classroom was in the back of the building. She had a television, the old TV sets. For those of you who are listening who may be younger, TVs used to have a back on them. They weren't always flat.
Yeah, so if you've seen, because I think they've been coming back, where people have been bringing them back, but the old CRT square, like, it's a big box.
Yeah.
And it has a back on it.
Yeah. She had a little, like, I'm not going to say 32 inch, but it was like smaller than 32 inch, like the little ones with the tape players on them.
Okay. Yeah.
Like the ones that a lot of schools had.
Yeah, I remember those.
One day, it was on while she was sweeping her classroom floor. So she turned it off. It turned back on. Just like in the movies, turned back on. So she said she unplugged it. Turned off. Then she said, again, turn back on. My grandmother was a very spiritual woman. Believed in God like nobody's business. She said, she told me, and again, this is hearsay. She told me that, and she didn't scare easily at all, because she was stubborn. But she's like, yeah, I told whatever it was that was, in there bothering me, get out my classroom. And she said when she told her that, TV went off and didn't come back on.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh.
Alright.
Okay.
Listen.
I have so many stories from that school. It's ridiculous. Like, one day, my principal, she's the owner of the school.
Yeah. I met her.
Yes.
Very nice.
She was standing in the doorway, and mind you, there's you remember the hallway that swept around? She was standing in the office in front of that archway. She was going through something. I remember she was going through something. Behind her, I saw a giant black figure. Oh. And again, I don't want you all to think I'm crazy. I'm not just making this up. This figure, I noticed it, and when I noticed it, it was like it saw me see it, see me see it. Oh. And when I noticed this thing, it just kind of like turned slowly and started walking up the hall. I ran by her to look. Yes, I was being curious. When I got to, the turn to see where, this thing went, it's gone.
It's crazy.
Yep.
That's crazy. Wow, man.
But again, to hear my one teacher, my principal's brother, say, he said he had been in there 3 o'clock in the morning, doing whatever, and nothing went bump in the night. And I'm like, it's interesting. Because, again, I'm not saying it's real. I'm not saying it's not real. But I know
something happened, and I always put it this way. I will never call anyone crazy because I don't know. I wasn't there. But also, this isn't one of those, this is like a made up thing. Like, these things happen. And, if you choose to believe it, that's fine. Because, you don't have to. You're your own person, you're your own, being.
And me, I am a scientist. I believe in the law of conservation of energy, which I will read it verbatim. The law of conservation of energy states that energy can be neither created nor destroyed, only converted from one form to another. So do with that what you will. Like, if our body makes energy and our consciousness is created because of a bunch of electrical pulses, when we die and those pulses stop, the energy that our body makes can be converted to, other things like, go from tissues to food for other organisms, and then, soil and blah, 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 stuff like that, the circle of life. But what about the unforeseen energy that, we produce? Because it's already been scientifically proven that people produce a small magnetic field.
And I'll put it to you this way. If this isn't something that you believe in or something that's like, you're like, nah, come on. It's fine. Like, absolutely fine. Because in reality, you can believe what you want. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Plus, it's not really to prove or disprove. It's just, is it a possibility? Just like, you know, years ago about when we first heard about aliens.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that that's come back up.
Oh, yeah. Well, funny story. My high school, I keep calling her my professor. My high school science teacher. I asked her about it, once I went to college. And I was like, hey, do you think aliens exist? And she said, yes. I asked, why? And she said, because people are arrogant. And I'm like, what do you mean people are arrogant? She said, there are billions of planets out there in the cosmos. And that's only of the ones that we know.
Right.
What do you think the odds are that out of billions of planets, the human race is the only species that's alive?
Yeah.
She said humans are arrogant and they think that the universe revolves around them. Which, again, proven, because at one point in time, we did think the universe revolved around us. We thought the galaxy revolved around the Earth, and then we learned that the Earth and other planets in our solar system revolve around the sun. We are not the center of the universe. So, for us to think that, we are the only beings that have consciousness and are intelligent species in an entire cosmos would be arrogant and probably statistically improbable.
Like, for me, I believe that there's intelligent life because, the world, not only our world, but our entire universe was created, And who's to say that, we were the only ones given intelligent life? I mean, it was us, and then there's animals, and then before us, dinosaurs.
Technically, they qualify as animals, yes.
But I'm saying I'm kind of like separating them because, like,
well, before dinosaurs, there were microbes.
Yeah.
Which are older than people.
Yeah.
And before, microbes, there was this single-celled amoebas, and hell, we still can't determine whether viruses are alive or dead. That's still a scientific debate that that scientists debate about. Like, are viruses alive or dead? It's like, who knows?
The unknown is one of those things where you have the opportunity to just be interested in it and not really look more into it, or be very curious.
Yep.
So that will be the lesson for today. If you're very curious about the stuff, keep looking into it. Talk to your friends about it. Word of warning, of course, kind of keep yourself bound to reality as well.
Yes, like the teacher that I told you about earlier that said, he never heard or saw anything go bump in the night while he was in the school.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, his saying was, keep an open mind, but don't let your mind be so open that all logic and reason falls out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's my advice to you all. Like, paranormal science is a thing. I think it's cool that it's a thing, because on the visible light spectrum, we can only see so much. Other animals can see a lot more. So, who's to say what's around that we can or cannot see?
Yeah.
Like, if aliens exist, who knows? They could be energy beings that we don't see. If spirits exist, who knows? They could be energy beings that we don't see. You know, I like to live in a world where we can prove or disprove things. But there are some things that are hard to prove and hard to disprove. You know, people have a hard time proving the existence of God. But I remember learning this in a religion class because I went to Catholic college or Catholic university. And even though I'm not Catholic, I was made to take a religion class, and the one thing that I learned was that the one reason that, you know, or one of the reasons why science usually trumps religion is because science basically did it first. Like, where religion says, oh, God created the universe. Science turns around and goes, no, this meteor hit the earth and it randomly, you know, set everything in motion for a land, like a aquatic animal to walk on land and blah, 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 blah. Whether or not you believe that, it's your business. Whether you believe creationism or the Big Bang Theory.
Or you can believe in the 3 golden goddesses that we talked about in the Legend of Zelda episode.
Or that. Yes, exactly. Whatever you believe in, it's what you believe in. But the only reason science gets like the most traction is because they said, hey, we can prove it.
Yeah.
And they showed data, and because they showed data, and they've showed data before any religion, quote unquote, had a chance to do experiments, it's accepted as fact.
Yep.
But the one weird thing that people never understand, or that they always miss, is that science can even be redacted in favor of a better data set that comes along, basically. So like, if I said, oh, the sky is blue, and you said, no, it's not, it's green.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, look at it, you can clearly see it's blue. And I run a test to show that, you know, blue light is the only wave that comes through. You know, I'm right, it's accepted in society. I'm kind of rambling at this point. Sorry if I'm rambling a little bit. But like, long story short, you know, it's socially acceptable. But then you come along with a data set that proves that, hey, it's not really blue, it's a shade of green.
Yeah.
Socially acceptable.
Yep.
Should we end it with one more question?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Oh, you know what? Let's change it up a little bit, because I feel like some people might feel a little uneasy. So like, let's talk about costumes.
Okay, cool.
Halloween costumes.
I'm sorry. I get into a whole bunch of creepy stuff. I know you don't get into creepy stuff.
Oh no, I'm fine. Personally, I just think that like it would be nice for our viewers to kind of
brighter and doing something a little bit brighter instead of like creepy or controversial.
Like, for me, I'm okay with this conversation, but like, that's me.
Yeah, I understand. What about costumes?
So, what are your favorite costumes that you've seen over the years? Do you like when people go out their way and really like make their costumes?
See, costumes for me, I didn't celebrate Halloween as a kid.
Yeah.
So I never really got into wearing costumes.
Yeah.
But I thought costumes were cool, and that was ruined for me. Only because I was introduced to cosplaying, and I was like, oh, so you mean people do this year round? And they do it better than like the people that just go out one night a year.
All right. Well, with that in mind, right? Costumes versus cosplay.
Cosplay all day. But I think it's cool that some people wear their cosplay as their costumes, obviously. You know.
Yeah.
You've done it.
Yeah, I have.
But I also think it's cool that some people are able to just wear a costume and be comfortable in it. Like, I remember when we worked at ShopRite, I literally saw somebody walk in dressed as Peter Parker.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, they won.
Yeah.
I remember what my costume was that year, and it was something super simple. I had Ash Ketchum's hat on with my work uniform, and people were like, what are you? And I'm like, I'm a Pokemon trainer.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it works.
It worked.
It works. For me, like, I'm not someone who is, like, I don't think that we need to have, like, a pageant for, like, Halloween costumes.
Exactly.
That, to me, is a little over the top.
It's supposed to be fun.
If you go out and you put a sheet on your head and you just cut out the eyes and you're a ghost, listen.
That's what you are.
You're a ghost, bro. Shut up.
I mean, if you want to be a ghost, you can be a ghost.
I'm so sick of you. You're nasty.
What did I do? Bro, if you want to be a ghost, you can be a ghost. I'm just saying, all ghosts don't look like, people with sheets over their head with eyes cut out.
I mean, but that's the generic thing that's made up in media.
That's kind of insensitive to ghosts.
But like, I do like seeing people who have worked on their costumes, and like you said, for me, cosplaying has ruined.
Go ahead and finish your statement, but I have a counter argument to that.
Halloween costumes for me, because like everyone knows about the ones that you get from like Party City and stuff like that.
Yep.
Where it's just like, $10 and now you're a Ghostbuster.
Yeah. They're going to be a whole bunch of shiesties out this season. I have a strong feeling.
No.
Whoa. Oh man, what's this costume? Oh, it's not a costume. I'm hiding from my ops, but I still had to come out and trick or treat. I ain't trying to have an op slide on me while I'm trick or treating.
I can now check off that Shiesties has made it to the finale of this podcast. Lord Jesus.
Bruh, if I had thought about how to pull it up in a Shiesty, I'd have wore a Shiesty the whole episode. Jesus. Matter of fact, y'all don't know that I'm not wearing a Shiesty this episode.
He is not. Do not believe him.
I don't know. I wouldn't believe it. I got ops over the airwaves.
Bro, stop.
Some of the airwaves, trying to op it up with me.
Jesus.
Nah, I'm joking. What I was gonna say was my explanation for like costumes versus cosplaying. I think since anime wasn't super popular until like, mid 2000s, everybody that celebrated Halloween, or a large majority of people that celebrated Halloween that wanted to make costumes, actually started off, wearing costumes for Halloween, and then transitioned into, hey, I want to do this because I enjoy doing it.
I can believe that, but I also can believe like the inverse because like, you know, conventions have been around for like years.
Yeah.
But like it wasn't really socially accepted.
Yep.
Until later because like
until about like 5-6 years ago.
Bruh, don't start.
maybe 10-15 years ago. I don't know, like,
because like anyone that's as old as I am or as old as you are knows about Star Trek conventions.
Yes.
and
Star Wars
conventions, and those were the pinnacle of.
And Lord of the Rings conventions.
Oh,
and LARPing. Live action role playing.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? You're actually right. You're absolutely right. Oh,
and
RuneScape IRL. You remember RuneScape IRL?
Vaguely, but all of that really descended from Dungeons and Dragons, D&D.
Right. But like, my point is,
because people used to dress up to play D&D.
Right. All of that stuff was like the top level of nerddom or geekdom. Like, if you attended one of those, you didn't get no girls, or if you were a girl, you didn't get any guys, you lived in.
And look at them now. A lot of people that are into this stuff look better than the ones that aren't. I seen some fine cosplayers in my day.
Listen. It's hilarious because like TBH, to be honest, you might find a better freak in a cosplayer than you would ever find just online. You don't know what they have prepared for you because some of them are very
PG, sir.
Okay, fine. They may have a surprise. That's what I'll say.
Well, it's 2023. It might be in more ways than one. Could be something that you're expecting. Could be something that you're not expecting.
And you are yelling at me.
I know. I was just being honest. Whatever floats your boat. You know, you could be disappointed either way, or you could be excited. Like,
this podcast is so.
But I think it's time for us to end it.
If you like this episode, make sure you hit that like and
comment and subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. Drop a comment.
YouTube loves it when you are able to interact. Feed the algorithm.
Yes,
the algorithm needs to be fed. It's the monster that will never be fed.
I have a question for you all though, to end the episode. What is your creepiest story? If you want to tell your story, you can drop it in the comments below.
Or if you want to tell, like, if you're squeamish or you don't really like it, you could tell, like, a funny spooky story or a cute spooky story. Something, like, lighthearted if you want.
Nah, what's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you?
Bruh.
I'm sorry, I want to know.
You want to traumatize the entire comment section.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Trust me. Trust me. I could think of something that would be a lot more squeamish, and it involves a cup.
Alright.
Exactly.
Alright, I'm okay with
the internet itself is a very squeamish place.
Are you talking about what?
We will not get into it. Anyway, until next time. Next time.
Yes, this is Jamie Shadow 9.
And I am Kitsune Sai. We are the Nerd Guys.
And we are out for this season.
See you next time in season 2.
Bye.
Peace.